Welcome to Crushgasm, the podcast dedicated to the highs and lows of crushes. From their first to their worst, we're going to cover them all with a cascade of characters, including our guest today, two boss bitches who found solace in one another as the seeds of Tinder were being planted, and then, some years later, decided to team up and start a podcast that has just been named one of Detroit's best for the second year in a row. Nicole and Sarah of the Homance Chronicles. Welcome, you two.
Thank you. My God, I'm not used to having people intro us. I feel good. Thank you.
That was well prepared. I felt like I was on a late night talk show.
I know. I feel like we might need to step our game up after that one. I don't know.
Well, I'm so excited to have both of you. This is the first time I've had two guests in one. One deal.
Well, because we're really just one person at the end of the day.
I feel you. That's how me and my best friend were until she graduated college early and kind of just left me in the dust. Now she does her own thing and it's great. She's amazing. But we're finally not conjoined twins anymore. We're our own. So I'm really excited because you guys are here to talk about your high school crush, which you just found out is the same person and you just realized that a week or so ago.
Yep, exactly.
Were you surprised at all about that revelation?
Oh. Well, not really, but kind of. It's not a great answer, but he was a very popular crush for girls in our high school. There wasn't a lot of eye candy, to be honest with you.
No. He was probably the most exotic blend that we had, if I'm being honest. There wasn't a lot going on there in terms of choices.
So by process of elimination, I'm not surprised, but because we have such different tastes in men, I was a little surprised.
I was also, and it's kind of the same page, Nicole and I, but for different reasons. See, I feel like we kind of have similar tastes and personality, and that's what I think drew us to that person. I mean,
a class clown, more athletic. Awesome. You guys love the mind, or was there physical attraction as well? He was also gorgeous.
He was pretty.
Yeah, mine was definitely physical. I could not repeat to you one thing that we talked about.
And the funny thing is I definitely had conversations with him. He was pretty.
So he wasn't someone who was just an older guy who's just out of your league. You actually did talk to this person. It wasn't a crush you guys had and just wrote about him in your journal at night. You actually had interaction with this guy.
Oh, I had interaction with him on a daily basis.
Yeah, actually. Yeah, he was. Was he in your class, Nicole? He was a little older than you, right?
Yeah, he was a year older than me, but we had a class together. Or maybe he just failed that class.
That's what I was gonna ask. Cause he was older, so why was he in your class? Was he not? I mean, he might have had a nice personality, but was he bright or what was going on?
Probably not. But we had some classes where there was mixes.
Oh, okay.
He wasn't dumb. He just, I'm pretty sure he was the classic ADD kid who wasn't being challenged enough, potentially.
Okay. Fair. And there's some subjects where it's I know at my school, if you didn't take it this year, you could take it the next year because maybe you want to do an extracurricular or whatever. So
right.
Luke, he was A-okay. Wasn't remedial or anything.
He was average. He didn't go to the alternative high school that everybody else seemed to go to. He made it.
That was my crush.
That was another
to be at school. I remember he was by the counselor and I was why are you at the counselor's office? He's yeah, just a little too old to be here. Gonna be on my way. I'm God, what are you 40? All right, Damien. But so Nicole, you said you two you went to the same school, but you didn't really hang out then. Were you guys in different cliques, grades? What was up?
All of the above.
Yeah.
We were a couple years apart, and we didn't have any of the same friends. The odd piece of history here that we didn't learn until we became friends as adults was that Sarah was actually really good friends with my stepsister in middle school and knew my family and had been to my house. But my parents are
Been in her room.
Oh,
yeah. My parents are divorced though, so I didn't spend as much time at my dad's house as like my brother did. And my stepsister lived at my dad's. So somehow Sarah and I never crossed paths when we were growing up, even though we lived like, I don't know, 20 minutes from each other our whole lives and we're in the same building and she was in my home.
Yeah,
that's
a lot of
great.
synchronicities.
And
What was that?
yeah, I was gonna say that's weird and creepy. And then you guys did find your way to each other, though. It was meant to be as kismet.
Absolutely.
Right.
The energy was always left in the house, and you kind of took it in when you came to visit. And I think that's why you two somehow connected later. With all the energy.
I like that assessment a lot.
To be honest with you, if I had met Sarah, we probably wouldn't have been friends.
No, I don't
Because
think
we're
so.
just so different. I mean, we're still different now, but when you're different as adults, you learn to appreciate those differences.
Oh,
Yeah,
totally.
we're like complete opposite yin and yang when we do anything together. We're like the whole package because of that. And so
That's
it's just
totally, because when you're like 14, 15, if someone's just not on the same level, you're like, that girl's a bitch. I don't want nothing to do with her. But when you're older, you can kind of appreciate the differences more. Yeah,
I think I also partied a lot harder than Nicole did in high school because I was partying a lot,
Oh,
like with everybody.
I was
you ever
not.
party with Luke?
Yes, I did party with Luke. You'll hear why when we tell our story.
So, like, you guys said Luke was kind of this guy that every girl might have had a crush on at one point. Was he more like Jordan Catalano, Luke Perry, like that hot guy that's just like, ooh, he's got that smolder? Or was he like all-American Freddie Prinze Jr. and she's all that?
Yep.
All
Both.
of that?
Yeah, I also was like, he was a combination of a Freddie Prinze because he had more swag than Freddie Prinze, but not as much as Luke Perry.
Right. He was like the perfect Midwestern mix up of, every girl's dreams, I guess you could say.
Every girl.
Every girl, really
Do you think
honest.
if you like found every girl you went to high school with, they would like remember Luke in that same way that people are like, oh, Jordan Catalano? They'd be like, oh, Luke.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
Yes, I hear. If I talk to anybody from high school, like I don't talk to anybody I went to high school with anymore. But if you even mention the full name and they're like, I remember that guy. Well, what a
Yeah,
trip.
no,
Anyway,
I still have a group of girlfriends from high school, and I don't want to do a spoiler alert, but they're the ones who told me about future Luke.
well, I want to get to that because Facebook is like, I don't know, some people hate it, but I love it because I'm just like, I am looking better than him and him and him. So I'm like, I love Facebook for that reason.
Yeah, this was not found on Facebook, but I'm with you. I mean, I don't have children, so I still get sleep and like can do a skincare routine. So I feel as though I look a lot younger than a lot of the people that I went to school with. And so there is a point of like, oh wow.
And
I think
you're like, what happened?
Facebook
I'm
can
pretty
be
sure, like-
self-care.
yeah. Well, also, I'm pretty sure that my friend group all peaked in high school. You know what I mean? Like they were really at their top of the game back then, and they just kind of petered out.
I think that's like 99% of the people in this world. But I want to take it back a little bit because like in elementary school, when I think about crushes, I think they're like adorable and they're innocent, And then in middle school, they're just plain awkward. And in high school, I think because puberty and your hormones have kind of settled into a better groove, things are a lot more intense when you crush on someone because you're thinking about like we could definitely hook up. This could happen. Do you think looking back you handled your crush with Luke with any sort of maturity, or were you just like, oh my god, like it was all sexual thoughts and crazy?
There was no maturity on my end.
None at all.
I will say though, I reciprocated his energy, and a 15-year-old boy's energy is subpar to a woman, like a female at 15. So, I did not show a mature side whatsoever. I just matched his level.
You're going toe to toe.
100%.
Yeah. Body to body.
You want me to go down there? Because I can come down there. You want me to come down there? I'll come down there. I'll be right there. Just matching that energy.
It was more fun that way.
Right. Of course.
Okay, so you both kind of started to like him around the same time from what you've told me, but then Nicole, you said your crush lasted about a year, but then Sarah, you said it went on a lot longer. Like, where's the stories there? Why did Luke kind of fizzle?
Well, I don't know. I guess if I don't want to do any spoilers, so I'll just wait till I tell my story and you'll know why.
For me, it lasted the year that I had that class with him. The following year, I didn't have any classes with him, so there wasn't an opportunity to have interaction. And I think that I came to the hard truth that he wasn't going to pick me.
Well, that's just sad.
At some point, I think you need to realize, like, is this a fantasy crush or is this like, oh, could this be a real thing? And at some point, I was like, this is not a real thing. Like, this is just like good time, fun. Like, we were very, very flirty. But it did fizzle out at the end of the school year, and then we didn't have like each other's information. Like we didn't hang out outside of school. We didn't call each other. Like there was no reason for us to, I guess, continue down that path, other than just the playfulness that we had during that one year that we had class together.
What year was that for you?
I was a freshman and he was a sophomore, so I was 14. And okay. I graduated in 01, so whatever that math is, what, 98?
97, 98.
I was going to say, okay, so then that makes, because I'm a couple years younger than me. You were a sophomore.
I was a freshman. He was a sophomore.
No, I'm saying like when I came in as a freshman, I think you were a junior, right?
Yes.
And that would have made him a senior?
Yes.
Okay. That makes sense then. Timelines, important. Because when I showed up, when my class showed up, things changed for Luke in a very dramatic way.
Oh, what did this freshman class do?
I can't until you're ready for the story.
I'm ready. I'm
all right. Nicole, I'm gonna let you tell the first part of your story, your part of your story first, because I could go for days about it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I can be efficient. So, I had whatever this class was, it was like a mix of freshmen and sophomores. I sat in front of him. So the desks were set up in columns. And so he sat right behind me, and he would like pick on me all class. Like he'd send me notes. He'd pull my hair. He'd like do spitballs. Like he would do anything to basically have me be distracted during the class. And then when we would have breaks, which I don't think I told you this, Sarah, but when we would have breaks, he would try to like sneak attack a butt slap.
Oh.
So
the early aughts, before the things got woke.
Huh?
Before things got woke back in those early aughts. That's crazy. Like, whoa.
Right, but at the same time, because it was him, I liked it. If it was somebody else, then there would have been a problem. You know, that's
not harassment when it's hoped for. You know what I mean?
If it would have been his best friend, I would have been like, nah, dog. So anyway, I was a very curvy 14-year-old. Like, I developed early. So I can imagine that now looking back, like, why he was so forthright. But at the time, I really didn't get it. And I truly was thinking that we were being flirtatious to mutually. And so then if we were in between classes, our school was it was like a rectangle, but it had this outer hallway where you basically would just keep going in a square, but it was you're walking in a circle. And so he didn't do anything productive with his time in between classes and would just keep circling around the school. And so every time he passed me, I remember this one time, every time he passed me, I said hi to him or waved to him or something. And then later on, he had told me, I don't need to say hi to him every time I see him.
Oh,
I know.
Who does that? You don't do that to anybody.
You don't do that to the girl that you're slapping her ass.
Oh.
And then, because he would not leave me alone during this class, and then flirting extended outside of the class, and it was handsy and whatnot. During a parent-teacher conference, my teacher told my mom that I was boy crazy. So somehow I got blamed.
She got in trouble.
Again, pre-Me Too movement,
Yeah.
Okay?
Blaming the victim.
Blaming the victim. But let me tell you how
Fucking
I still got
90s
an A in
man.
that class. It doesn't, my boy craziness or whatever did not distract me. I still got an A in that class. I was boy crazy to an extent. My mom knew, though. I was the one who had, Devin Sawa and JTT and all those people up in my room, my wall covered in Tiger Beat posters when I was in middle school.
Tiger Beat.
Yeah, it was
I love
Tiger.
it.
Right? I'm not right.
Yeah, Tiger Beat, Bop, Baby, Teen Beat.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. That was a special treat. Instead of wanting to get ice cream, I'd go get a Tiger Beat magazine.
Same. That's why I stopped playing with Barbies, because my dad would give me $20 every 2 weeks for his little child support or whatever. And my mom was like, "Well, you only have 20." And I was like, "Do I want a whole magazine with cute boys, or do I want these dolls?" And I was like, "Bye, bitches."
100%. I don't remember dolls after elementary school.
No.
But so my mom kind of already knew that obviously I was going through some hormonal changes and interested in boys and whatever. But to be honest with you, I was very inexperienced. I had my first kiss, I think, when I was 13, and there wasn't really going to be anything that would actually happen with this guy. So I don't know what I was thinking in my mind, but at the same time, there's no he led me to believe that there could be something.
Mm-hmm.
So, that crush ended hard.
He dangled something in front of you and then just snatched it away when he said, "Don't you wave at me all the time, girl."
Yeah, pretty much.
Right.
He sounds because the term fuckboy I don't think was a term then, but it sounds like he could be one of the grandfathers of fuckboys.
Oh,
100%.
I would say he's an OG for sure.
100% he was a fuckboy.
For sure.
He wore one of those hemp necklaces with a shell.
Oh, no.
I did too, though. Everybody fucking did, man.
I did not. And he wore it as a choker.
Oh, yeah, I think that was the only option we had. There was only a size you could get.
But that was probably my first introduction to the fact that I liked darker complected men.
Really, he's just
high school, it went way off the deep end. It was full course, don't even show me a white guy.
Well, we didn't have any We didn't have any diversity in our high school until.
Yeah. And this guy's just Italian. Like, I'm not.
Right. That's my point.
Like, he wasn't even that dark of a complexion. It was just, he wasn't stark white.
He wasn't porcelain like I am.
Yeah, he was my sort of ethnic friend.
Nice.
So,
yeah, so I'll save the part about where he is now.
Yeah, well, we're gonna get to that. I want to hear Sarah's story.
Yeah, because I'm about to turn it up a little bit.
Okay.
You mean more than butt slapping?
Oh yeah,
you get
100%. You got nothing on this.
We're not really competitive, by the way.
No, not at all. I think it was the most competitive we've ever been. And you've got it on tape.
Memories. Making up memories.
Oh God. Okay. So I come in after Nicole, my freshman year, and I'm with a group of girls who are the alternative high school girls, basically. And they like to do hood rat things with their friends, but they're from a really small white town. And Luke was the only excitement in that town, period, to those females. Come to find out, probably a couple weeks into school, Luke has taken a liking to one of the friends of my group. A couple months later, they're dating, full on dating each other. Everybody knows about it. I think he was a senior.
That was the math that we deduced.
Yeah, right. So he has peak popularity in his senior year, and he chose a freshman female to be friends with, or like be, boyfriend, girlfriend with. And this chick was my best friend. She moved into town when we were in 5th grade, and I ended up being her BFF for life for like the entire from 5th grade up until, freshman year of high school. And she's a very beautiful lady. But like Nicole, she had developed very early on, and her mom maybe dressed her because she's still her mom was still, managing her outfits and stuff for her. I think her mom may have dressed her a little bit too provocatively, potentially. I don't know. Things were just very skin tight. Anyway, so, springtime comes around, fall time comes around, and these guys are dating hot and heavy. I still have a massive crush on this guy because, duh. And he's dating my best friend, who is not Nicole. And, this girl would come to my house regularly, and since Luke could drive, she would come to my house with Luke instead of herself. And so I would hang out with her and Luke all the time. I would hang out in the back of his car. He had a really cool car. I would go to his house. I would go to the parties with them and like just sit and be the third wheel on purpose so I could just have a couple more minutes with the man. It's tragic now I think about it.
Were you like in the back of your head thinking maybe if they don't work out, he's seen me enough, I'll be the next obvious choice?
Oh, that was how he was making it seem. He was at a point where he was, telling me how much he enjoyed my company even over her company. And I was like, this is bad. But she was becoming a very bad friend at the same time. So I was just like in this space alone going, I don't know what to do with my hands, but I'm going to keep hanging out with these two because I don't know what to do with my hands. Like I just kept doing this thing where I would hang out with them and pine for him. And then
again, fuckboy behavior.
We were trained well, apparently. And he met my parents. Like my parents had a rapport with him. He knew, I knew Luke real well. It got to a point where Luke would contact me outside of his relationship and be like, hey, you want to watch a movie? And I'd be like, yep. Yes, I do. I shouldn't, but I'll be there in 10 minutes. And I would just, somehow get picked up by Luke and then end up making my way back over to wherever he was staying. I don't know if it was his parent. I think it was like a friend of the family. He had gotten kicked out of his parents' house and he ended up living in the back in the guest house or, the shed, whatever the fuck it was. And we would hang out and watch movies and like not cuddle, but we wouldn't be platonic. We would just kind of be like, you could feel it in the air or whatever. And then things fell apart with the friend. She ended up going to the alt high school, and we never really. So eventually I would just see him in passing at parties, because I knew he was, or I'd be partying with all those people still. And then out of nowhere one night, some of the seniors, when I was a freshman, were having a party, and I was there because I was friends with all of them. And none of the females that I was friends with that were my age were there. So, 14 years old at this party were a bunch of 17, 16, sometimes 18, because they never passed. And apparently there was like a group shower situation.
Oh my
and Mr. Luke had gotten in and kind of dirty with one of the girls who lived by me at the time, who I was really good friends with because I grew up with her in the neighborhood. And she was like, you can't tell anybody, but guess who made it past? And she was so excited because she too had a crush on this guy. And it was from this guy's in her class for 4 years and she's crushing on him and she's so much older than me. And I was like, what do you mean? What? Huh? What do you do? You made it past at you? How it happened? And then she proceeds to tell me the story of how they're all in the shower and things got whatever. And so I then had to keep that to myself from the friend because she wasn't a good friend anymore. And it was just the strangest. And I didn't ever tell Luke about none of the fact that I knew any of this stuff, none of it. And then everything kind of like faded away because we didn't have social media. We didn't have cell phones to keep track and contact with each other. I don't know where he went. He just graduated and that was that. And then my friend at the time, I don't believe they continued to date after that. And I think the scandal came out eventually. So I lost track of him completely. Nicole lost track of him completely. And then I'll tell my part because I think you were told secondhand. I saw it first person. I was at my mom and dad's house years later, and I was watching TV, and a Hair Club for Men commercial showed up on the TV there, and Luke's big old face was front and center.
Oh my God.
Yeah, in case we haven't dated ourselves enough in this episode, Hair Club for Men came on.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, I never saw him on the commercial. However, I had a friend who did see him on the commercial who then told me about it. And then he was like one of the number one people on their website as like a testimonial. And so the ultimate fuckboy ended up with hair plugs.
You could have went a million different ways, and I would have been like, okay, that's probably how it would have ended, but not a commercial for Hair Club for Men. Like, totally out of left field there. Anything else, I would have been like, all right, like I could expect that. Whoa.
I hollered. I was like, Mom, it's Luke. And she was like, oh, holy shit.
Well, the interesting thing is that when they showed the picture of him without his hair on top, he was not very recognizable, but his full name was everywhere on the website. Like, I think there was a billboard on the commercial. Like, I don't know if he got paid to do that.
I know he got paid. He was a slut for money. Of course he got paid.
He had to have gotten paid nicely, in addition to the hair plugs as a bonus.
Right.
He'll probably just tell you he's like a model, though. He's like, no, I'm just a model.
Right. No, he wasn't. Modeling plugs is what he was doing because he got plugs in his head. Yeah.
Yeah, so my forever friend from kindergarten who had a crush on him, who was in the same class with him, who participated in all this debauchery, she just randomly sends me a text one day of him with little micro hairs on the top of his head. And it's just like, guess who?
Oh. So this man who has hair plugs today, he treated you both like he played games with your head.
Yeah, 100%.
Best and Sarah, he just made you this third wheel and gave you this false hope. How did those games, do you think, like looking back, impacted how you date today?
Well, I don't put my eggs in a basket that's taken. That's for damn sure. Which you should never do anyway, but you know what I mean? Like at least I learned that when I was young. I'll never fuck around with a married man.
Honestly, I haven't spent much time thinking about him and how he's impacted my life, but
other than dating darker complexions.
Well, yes. I like dipped my toe in the water with him.
He was a gateway drug.
Yeah. I do think though that I developed, or not that I developed, I had some self-esteem and self-confidence issues already, naturally, as any 14-year-old girl usually does. And especially in the 90s when the societal norm is the Kate Moss diet of Diet Coke and cigarettes, right?
It was awful.
I've always had curves. And so I was not the norm for the 90s. And to already have issues with my appearance and my weight and things like that, it definitely did not help. It perpetuated a problem that was already existing within myself. And I definitely think that there was a point where I was like, am I not like the cool kid? Like, am I not in the group? Like, would I not be wanted? You know, like I think that continuous flirtatious behavior without any kind of closure or any kind of actual next action to be like, I'm interested in you, or whatever that next step would be, is not helpful to a girl's young psyche.
Hearing these stories and what you just said, I usually end every interview, well, the crush portion, asking people, you know, what would your dream life be like if this crush had worked out? But for you guys, we're just going to move on to talking about the podcast. I don't think in any scenario would you have been happy with a man modeling or promoting hair plugs for men.
Well, to be honest, it probably would have panned out the same way it did now. He's not with me. I would have figured it out eventually.
To be honest, yeah, we would not have ever really been a match because our lifestyles were too different. Our values were too different. If we had ended up together, we would have been divorced.
If it even got that far. Do we know his son?
I'm sure he has kids and is married and stuff now. I don't know. I haven't, other than the other day when we came to this revelation, I have not gone down the Luke path in a very long time.
The Luke rabbit hole?
Yeah.
Well, you got to air some grievances today, and I hope that was a little therapeutic for you to just like let Luke go, let that negative energy go.
Right?
Because you guys have so much positive energy and you put it into the Homance Chronicles, which, what were you guys sort of each doing before you decided to partner up for a podcast?
Being friends, fucking around, doing stupid shit.
Fuckery.
Debauchery. I mean, we would go to the bar Friday, Saturday, every weekend. And at one point we were always VIP, but we never actually signed up for VIP. We just managed to make it to the top in the little socialite, you know, scene, if you will. And just strange shit happens to us all the time. Regardless if we're partying or not, we could just go to the grocery store together, pick up some stuff for a trip, and then boom, weird shit. So podcasting.
We would come, so we worked together. That's how we ended up eventually meeting each other and becoming friends, is that we worked together and we were both single at the time. We were in our 20s we were placed together, I'm pretty sure.
In a corporate environment.
You know, the planets aligned us because we needed each other at the time. And so we would spend all weekend, you know, going out, getting drunk, creating stories, come back to work on Monday and have lunch with other coworkers / friends, tell them how our weekend went, and they were like amazed at the things that we would come across. And so I wanted to put it into a book, or at least talk about my dating experiences in a book. Turns out when you write and are in front of a computer all day for work, you don't have a lot of motivation to do more writing in front of a computer in the evening. So Sarah was like, let's do a podcast, and our abilities to fill in the gaps and remember different parts of the evening to tell a full story is really quite remarkable.
Yes, it is.
It's a special gift that we've been given. And so we thought, you know, the world needs to be blessed with...
we were also like, you know, at work probably every Monday, I would say Monday, Tuesday time frame, we'd have at least 3 or 4 people be like, are you going to lunch today? Do you want to go to lunch? And then we'd sit there and tell our whole story from the weekend and then not eat. I was like, maybe we should podcast this so that we can eat at lunch.
You're like, I need that sustenance.
Yeah. Still hungover, guys. I need to eat.
But then, you know, the podcast has grown with us as we've gotten older and things in our lives have changed. And so we have had a lot of comedians from the Detroit local comedy scene come on and be guests. But the pandemic actually really opened us up to a more global audience and opportunities. And it's been going more down a self-help, self-love road that is in combination with our real life stories and are still like our comedic flair.
Yeah, because we're not changing the fact that we're hoes. That's never gonna go away.
It sounds like you sort of became friends during like what I like to call the hoe phase of life, which I think everyone, man, woman, whatever you identify as, needs to go through in life. I don't, if it's a year or it's several, 10, whatever. How important?
Hoe decade.
Yeah, the decade of hoe.
No big deal. It's fine.
How important would you say that hoe phase is, and has it been for you?
Me personally, I think the hoe phase was incredibly important to figure out what I don't want, because I'm one of those people where like I don't know anything until I know it, and so I don't know what I want. I don't know, you know, the fun things in life. I'm just like, let's give me it all, and I'll tell you what I don't like after I experience it all. So for me, it was incredibly important to figure out who I am and basically like, what are my life goals? Do I want to date to marry? Do I want to have children? No. Do I want to have, you know, a life with a person at the end of the day every day? And it's necessary. It's completely necessary, in my opinion.
My hoe phase came at a very important time because it was post a very traumatic breakup, and I wouldn't have been a good partner for somebody else anyway, even if I had tried to get into a relationship. So why not spend some time having fun and enjoying life? And I am pretty much a Virgo to a T. I'm pretty anal retentive, and I'm like a planner, and Sarah is the opposite. So we were able to find this middle ground that was super fun, but never to like an illegal standpoint.
Right. It was never that. We never got to a point where we were being dangerous or like, you know, putting others in harm's way or ourselves in harm's way. But it wasn't ever like good person, like angel fun. We're no angels.
Hoe fun. It's hoe.
We just never get caught. How's that?
You're just doing hoe things and having good fun. And what I like about you guys is you guys use hoe as a term of endearment. Was that kind of based on how like Amber Rose has her like slut walk and wants to take the power back from the term?
Yeah, in a way, we started calling our friendship a homance as the female equivalent of a bromance, because what do you call two women who are close and hang out like that? And
instead of just like best friends for life.
Yeah, she's my BFF.
At first, we're not that way, so.
Yeah, but also the podcast is a little bit more about not having shame in your game. If you feel like what makes you happy is not being married, not having children, traveling alone, meeting a guy for a weekend, like that, do you, boo? Because we just want to make it a safe common ground that everybody's allowed to live their life the way they want to. And so just really take, like, there's no such thing as like a shame spiral or a shame walk or whatever. Like, so yes, Amber Rose has that kind of like fight back, but that's not necessarily how ours started. It really did start as a term of endearment.
Yeah, like, you know, one was being a hoe, the other one was just hanging out, so she's a hoe and the other one's the manse. Like, we literally took the word apart and call each other, you know, either or. But primarily, like she said, it's about the lack of, we as women should not be shamed for doing exactly what men do all the time. And if we can have a platform where we can share our experiences and our stories and allow other women to relate in a way, either if it's private, if they want to branch out and do this, whatever we do, fine, whatever. But it really bugs us that there's not a lot of equality in this society when it comes to shame. Really.
I mean, this whole thing could have started with Luke. He really rooted into me that I got blamed. And this whole thing is a big fuck you to him.
Well, see, look, Luke did one good thing. Kind of a silent producer of the podcast.
Oh my God, let's not give him that much credit, but
easy.
Yeah.
Well, I think you guys have a beautiful homance. Just from talking to you today, I'm like, these girls, they're good girls together.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What is like something you've learned from the other since starting the podcast, be it about life, this business that you guys started together? Like what?
Nicole needs to have her socks on.
That's the takeaway. That I would like, really. It's not on either. They need to be off. In order for me to be comfortable having sex, my socks need to be off. So,
as you can see, I've learned how to push your buttons.
And something that she's taught me that I didn't just example was patience.
In all seriousness, Nicole's Virgo-ness has caused me to be more thorough with everything. I don't, okay, whatever, and just keep going. I sit and I pause. Like, I don't normally pause because I have no patience in that regard. Like, I'm not patient when it comes to waiting. I just want to push through shit and get things done. But she's taught me how to pause and, you know, just for a second and make sure I'm doing things right, and is questioning myself is important, you know, all these things. But she also taught me how to be like a really good friend through everything. She taught me how to be a friend. I wasn't really a good one before that because I didn't really have any genuine connections. And so I'm very thankful for that too, because that's not very common when you're in your mid-20s to find somebody like that. That
it's
you can
so
still
sweet.
fuck
She
her and have fun time with.
and every time I'm just like, oh.
Because it's true.
Well, lessons learned, and it seems to be working out. This is 3 years for your podcast, and you've mentioned you've had like local comedians, and I noticed you interview authors. I saw I don't know how to say it, a wine person on the most.
Oh, a sommelier, yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
I was like, is that like an African person, like a Somalian? Like, I was like, I don't know. Then I was like, wine person. Okay. And you've also had some life coaches, and you said you're kind of moving sort of in that direction. What kind of guests do you have coming up this summer that we could look out for?
She just picked a whole bunch of stuff, actually. We're hoping too, while she looks it up, we're hoping that we'll actually be able to go out into the wild again and experience the things that we used to do prior to it all. So we might be getting back to our roots, hopefully, at the end of the summer as well. What do you got, Nicole?
Yeah, so we have more life coach type people coming on, but we're delving into a little bit more spicy content. We've got somebody who specializes in erotic massage. So that's fun. We've got she's now a friend of the show at this point, but a woman who does a podcast called That Trophy Wife Life, where we talk about sex fails and other like juicy tidbits that nobody else has heard. We have a relationship coach who is coming on that is actually a guy and not a woman, so we'll be able to get that perspective. And then we do have a couple of local comedians who got actually really big gigs and are trying to promote them. So our friend Johanna Madronda and our other friend John McCaffrey, over the next few weeks, I mean, that's what our schedule is looking like. It's pretty fun.
We're just living, laughing, and loving. Sounds like, God.
Suburban housewives, favorite thing.
Yeah, I'm like, we're the last people who have a living.
I know. I don't know why that popped in my head. I think it's because it's ironic at this point.
I'm over here talking about getting lessons about erotic massage, and you're putting us in that basic bitch corner.
I guess I'm looking at it as we're putting a whole new spin on Live, Laugh, Love. I'm taking that shit back and making it mine, goddammit.
Reclaiming it. Reclaim that phrase. Take it over. So, can you tell us where we can find you online?
Sure. You can find us at thehomancechronicles.com. On Instagram is probably our most used social media, and that's at Homance_Chronicles. It's the same thing on TikTok, and on Facebook it's the Homance Chronicles. So yeah, you know, Instagram's a good spot to find us. Also, we have a closed group called, it's on Facebook, called the Homance Chronicles, a judgment-free zone, and that's where we share the extra naughty bits. So
spicy shit.
Extra hoe stuff.
Stuff like behind the beads at the 90s video stores.
Right?
Naughty bits. Well,
oh,
Nicole and Sarah, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me about Luke, your shared high school crush. And everyone, you can find all of the Homance Chronicles information below. And until next time, keep crushing it.